Walk alone and makes you strong family. Let me tell you something powerful today. Sometimes the greatest strength you will ever find in your life will not come from the people standing beside you, but from the courage you build when you're walking by yourself. Too many people are afraid of being alone. They think being alone means being abandoned. They think walking alone means they failed. But the truth is, walking alone is often the very moment when God is preparing you for your breakthrough. See, everybody wants to walk with you when the road is smooth. But when the road gets dark, when it gets bumpy, when it's not popular to stand beside you, you'll find yourself standing there with only your faith, your vision, and your determination. And that's when the real growth happens, because walking alone doesn't weaken you. It sharpens you, it matures you, and it makes you strong enough to carry the blessing that's waiting for you. So don't fear walking alone. Don't be afraid to say, if you can't go where I'm going, I'll go without you. Because the power is not in who walks with you, the power is in who you become while you're walking. Everybody can't go where you're going, everybody won't understand your dream. Everybody won't clap for your vision. And everybody won't be ready to handle the level of blessing that's about to fall on your life. That's why you can't expect the crowd to always be with you. Because truth be told, the crowd wasn't designed for your calling. Some people are only meant to walk with you for a mile, not for the entire marathon. It hurts when people you trusted walk away, but you've got to remind yourself it's part of the journey. Think about it. If everybody stayed, you'd never learn to lean on God alone. If everybody stayed, you'd never find out just how much strength you have when the noise stops. Some of the same people you tried to carry into your future would only slow you down. You can't take dead weight to the next level. You can't carry people who aren't ready for the same growth. The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets. And not everybody can breathe at the altitude you're headed to. This is why separation is necessary. You will see some people fade out of your life without explanation. Don't go chasing them, don't beg them to stay. Just let them go, because what God has for you, they're not prepared to handle. You ever notice how rockets drop parts as they go higher? That's your life, not because those parts were bad, but because they can't handle the next atmosphere. Same with people in your journey. Some folks are good, but they're not meant for your next level. When you start to grow, you'll notice the circle around you shrinking. And instead of crying about who left, you ought to celebrate who's still there. Because real ones don't leave when the road gets hard. Real ones don't disappear when you step into your greatness. But here's the truth. Most of your journey will not be with real ones. Most of your journey will be with yourself, and that's not a weakness, that's the strength builder. That's where you find out what you're made of. See, people are seasonal. Some will teach you lessons, some will give you memories, but only a few are meant to carry the weight of destiny with you. Stop trying to force everyone to stay when their season is already over. The sooner you understand that everybody can't go where you're going, the lighter your steps will feel. You'll walk with peace, you'll walk with power, and you'll walk with confidence that your future is protected. Don't get bitter when people don't believe in your dream. Don't waste energy trying to explain to them what they were never supposed to understand. If God gave the vision to you, then it's for you, not for them. And when you really grasp this, you'll stop chasing support and start chasing purpose. You'll stop asking for validation and start asking for direction. Because the truth is, when the time comes, the right people will align with you, and the wrong ones will fall away. Everybody can't handle your storm. Everybody can't handle your level of blessing. Everybody can't handle your fire. So when they leave, let them leave. That's not your loss. That's your preparation. So don't fight the process. Don't hold on to what's trying to walk out of your life. Release it, because if you want to fly, you can't carry everyone on your back. Some people belong to your past, not your future. And the moment you understand this truth, that everybody can't go where you're going, You'll walk lighter, stronger, and freer toward the destiny waiting on you. Silence builds strength. There's power in silence. When you're walking alone, you don't have the crowd cheering, you don't have the voices around you hyping you up, and you don't have the distractions keeping you busy. It's just you, your thoughts, and your faith. That silence that used to scare you becomes the very thing that shapes you, because in the silence you learn who you are without the noise. See, people run from silence because it forces them to face themselves. When you're surrounded by people, you can hide behind their opinions. When you're in the crowd, you can drown your pain with chatter. But when it gets quiet, all of that goes away. That's when you hear the truth. That's when you face your fears. That's when you find your real strength. Silence gives you clarity. It's hard to see your future when you're surrounded by distractions. It's hard to hear God's voice when 10 other voices are speaking louder than Him. But when you walk alone, the noise fades and the direction becomes clear. That's when your vision sharpens, your ideas align, and your purpose reveals itself. In silence, you build patience. You learn that not every answer comes right away. You learn that not every question gets solved instantly. Walking alone forces you to slow down and listen instead of rushing into the wrong direction, and that patience becomes part of your strength. People think strength is about how loud you are, but sometimes strength is in how quiet you can be while the storm is raging. Strength is being able to say, I don't have to prove anything right now. I don't have to argue with anyone. I know who I am, and I know where I'm going. That's real power. When you're silent, you notice things you would have missed before. You start to see who's really for you and who's against you. You start to recognize the patterns in your own behavior. You start to notice opportunities that were right in front of you, but you couldn't see because you were distracted by noise. And silence doesn't mean weakness. Don't let people fool you into thinking just because you're quiet, you don't have strength. Sometimes silence is the loudest statement you can make. When people expect you to respond and you don't, that's discipline. When people expect you to beg and you don't, that's strength. When people expect you to fall apart and you stand still, that's growth. The truth is, silence teaches you self-control. It teaches you not to react to everything. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves your response. Not every situation requires your voice. Sometimes the best answer is silence, because silence holds more power than wasted words. When you walk alone in silence, you learn to hear your inner voice. That voice that tells you, keep going. That voice that tells you, don't give up. That voice that says, I know it's hard, but we're not stopping here. That inner voice gets stronger in the silence, and once you learn to trust it, you don't need anyone else to validate you. Silence also strengthens your faith, because when nobody else is around to lean on, you lean on God. When nobody else is around to hear your cry, you realize He's been listening the whole time. That's when you learn to trust that your strength doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from the Creator. Silence is the ground where discipline is built. Think about it. People who succeed aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who went away, worked in silence, stayed consistent, and came back stronger. People don't respect the noise. They respect the results. The more you master silence, the more dangerous you become to failure. Because silence keeps you focused. Silence keeps you calm. Silence keeps you from wasting energy on meaningless distractions. And when your focus is sharp, your results will speak louder than any words ever could. Some of your greatest growth will happen in the moments nobody sees. Some of your biggest battles will be fought in silence. And some of your strongest victories will come when no one's watching. That's where true strength is built. So embrace the silence. Stop running from it. Stop filling it with distractions. Learn to sit in it, grow in it, and build in it. Because once you master silence, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, nothing on this earth can break you. Loneliness is a training ground. Loneliness is one of the hardest seasons you'll ever face, but it's also one of the most valuable. See, people think loneliness is punishment, but it's not, it's preparation. It's the place where God sharpens your vision, strengthens your discipline, and teaches you to rely on faith instead of comfort. When you're surrounded by people, you can lean on their energy, you can borrow their motivation, you can depend on their encouragement. But when you're alone, you find out what you're really made of. You find out if you can encourage yourself when nobody else is clapping. You find out if you can get up in the morning when nobody's waiting on you. That's training. Loneliness develops a strength that nothing else can. Because in that space, there's no crowd, no audience, no recognition. It's just you and the grind. It's just you and the work. It's just you and the vision that nobody else can see. That's where champions are made, when they can push even when it feels like no one is watching. You'll learn more about yourself in lonely seasons than you ever will in crowded ones. In loneliness, you start asking questions. Who am I without the applause? Who am I without the support? Who am I when it's just me and my thoughts? Those answers will shape your identity in ways comfort never could. Don't mistake loneliness for emptiness. Loneliness is a classroom. It's where lessons are taught that success can't take away. It's where your character is built. It's where your resilience is tested. It's where you learn to stop craving people's approval and start standing on your own 2 feet. The lonely road is the preparation road. It's where you train your discipline. Because when you can get up and push forward by yourself, then you know you're truly ready. Anybody can work when the crowd is cheering, but not everybody can work when it's quiet. That's why loneliness is for the strong. It molds you into someone unshakable. Some of your greatest gifts will only come through loneliness, because without it, you wouldn't slow down enough to discover them. You wouldn't have the space to dig deep and figure out what you're truly capable of. Loneliness strips away the distractions so you can focus on the real work, the work inside of you. And let's be real, loneliness is not fun. It's uncomfortable. It feels heavy. But that weight you feel is not meant to break you. It's meant to build you. It's like lifting in the gym. Those heavy reps hurt, but they're shaping your muscle. Loneliness works the same way. It hurts, but it's building your inner muscle. You'll never become great without walking through lonely seasons. Because greatness requires separation. It requires you to detach from average. And when you detach from average, you often find yourself alone. That's not a sign that you're failing. That's a sign that you're growing. Loneliness teaches you to fight battles in silence, to keep pushing when no one sees you, to celebrate small wins when nobody claps. And when you master that, you become unstoppable, because nothing on the outside can control your drive anymore. This season trains your vision. It trains your patience. It trains your ability to survive without depending on people who may not always be there. And the training ground is what prepares you for the stage. If you can handle loneliness, you can handle success, because success often brings isolation too. Think about every great leader, every great dreamer, every great achiever. They all had lonely nights. They all had seasons where they wondered if it was worth it. They all had moments where they cried alone, but still got up the next day and kept going. That's what shaped them into who they became. So don't run from loneliness. Don't despise it, don't curse it, use it, train in it, grow in it, build in it, because the very season you think is breaking you is the same season that's making you. Loneliness is not the end, it's the beginning of your strength. It's not punishment, it's preparation. It's not your weakness, it's your training ground for greatness. Rejection is redirection. Rejection feels painful in the moment, but it's never the end of your story. It's just a turning point. Every no you've ever heard wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to guide you. Because sometimes if you would have gotten that yes, it would have taken you somewhere that wasn't designed for you. Rejection is not always the devil working against you. Sometimes it's God working for you. Think about it. How many times have you looked back at something you wanted so badly, only to realize later it would have been a disaster if you got it? That job you thought you needed, that relationship you thought you couldn't live without, that opportunity you thought was perfect, it wasn't for you. And the rejection you felt back then was really protection for the person you are today. The problem is, most people see rejection as a wall. They hit it and they stop. They think the no means the dream is over, but the truth is, rejection is just a detour sign. It doesn't say stop. It says go another way. And if you keep walking, you'll see that what you thought was a setback was actually setting you up for something greater. Rejection teaches resilience. It forces you to build a tougher skin, because let's be real, life will not hand you everything on the first try. You're going to get told no. You're going to get doors slammed in your face, but every no builds a strength inside of you. Every rejection adds a layer of determination that a yes never could. Rejection also teaches humility. It reminds you that you don't control everything. It forces you to trust that maybe, just maybe, your plan isn't the best plan after all. That's when you start leaning on faith. That's when you start believing that if a door closes, it's because a bigger one is about to open. Rejection clears out what doesn't belong. You think losing that person broke you. No, it saved you. You think not getting that opportunity ruined your future. No, it freed you for the right one. Rejection cuts ties with what was going to weigh you down so you can move forward without chains. Every successful person you admire faced rejection. Every dreamer who made it had people telling them they weren't good enough, they weren't smart enough, they weren't talented enough. But what separated them from the crowd was that they didn't let rejection define them. They let it refine them. Sometimes rejection pushes you into your real calling. You thought you wanted that career, but when it didn't work out, you discovered your gift. You thought you needed that person, but when they walked away, you found yourself. You thought you lost something, but you actually gained everything. Rejection redirects your focus. It forces you to stop chasing things that don't align with your purpose. It strips away what you thought you needed so you can finally focus on what you're truly destined for. That's not loss, that's alignment. The danger is not in being rejected. The danger is in staying stuck at rejection. Too many people waste their life replaying the no instead of pushing toward the yes that's waiting down the road. Don't sit in the pain of rejection. Stand up, dust yourself off, and let it point you in the right direction. Rejection strengthens your faith. It makes you lean on God more than people, because when people shut the door, God can still open windows. And sometimes the only way He can get you to walk through that window is by letting you get rejected at the door. Think about rejection like a GPS rerouting. The road you were on may have been blocked, but that doesn't mean the destination changed. It just means there's another route, and most of the time that other route is better than the one you were trying to take. Don't despise rejection. Don't curse it. Don't think it's the end. Accept it as a teacher. Accept it as guidance. Accept it as part of the process that's pushing you toward your destiny. Because if you embrace rejection, you'll see it's not a closed door, it's a redirection toward the right door. Rejection isn't the enemy, it's the mentor. It doesn't end your journey, it saves it. And if you can learn to thank God for rejection, you'll see it was never meant to break you, it was meant to bless you in disguise. Walking alone reveals who you are. Walking alone has a way of showing you the truth about yourself. When the crowd is gone, when the applause stops, when the encouragement isn't there, you find out who you really are. It's easy to look strong when you've got people holding you up, But the real test is how you stand when it's just you. Aloneness strips away the masks, because when you're in the crowd, you can pretend. You can act confident. You can hide your fears behind the noise of other people's voices. But when it's quiet, you face the mirror. You come face to face with your doubts, your strengths, your weaknesses. And that's when you really learn yourself. Some of the most powerful lessons in life come when nobody's watching. When you're walking by yourself, you learn if you truly believe in the dream you say you want. Do you still chase it when nobody claps? Do you still wake up early when nobody's pushing you? That's when your character shows up. Walking alone tests your consistency. It asks you, can you keep going when no one's cheering? Anybody can work when the lights are on. Anybody can move when the cameras are rolling, but it takes a different level of commitment to keep moving when nobody sees it. And here's the truth. You can fool people, but you can't fool yourself. Walking alone forces you to see the parts of you that need work. It exposes your laziness. It shows you your excuses, but it also shows you your hidden strengths. The things you didn't know you were capable of until you had no choice but to dig deeper. Aloneness reveals your values. When there's nobody to influence you, nobody to pressure you, nobody to tell you what to do, you find out what you really believe in. You find out if your convictions are strong or if they only existed because others agreed with them. It also reveals your courage because it takes guts to walk a path no one else is walking. It takes bravery to say, I'll stand even if I have to stand alone. And once you find that courage inside of you, you'll realize you don't need the crowd. You've got everything you need within. Walking alone also uncovers your voice. Too often, we let the opinions of others drown out our own. But when you're by yourself, you learn to hear that inner voice loud and clear. And that's the voice that will guide you into your destiny. The one that was always there, waiting for you to listen. You'll also discover your worth, because when nobody else is around to validate you, you're forced to validate yourself. You're forced to clap for yourself. You're forced to say, I am enough, even if nobody else says I am. And that self-worth becomes the foundation for everything else in your life. Walking alone teaches you to stop depending on outside validation. Too many people live for likes, applause, and approval. But when you're alone, you learn that the most important approval you'll ever get is your own. And once you have that, nobody can take it away. The journey alone reveals your discipline, because the truth is, discipline is doing what's necessary even when no one's watching. Walking alone is the training ground for that. It asks, will you still do the work when nobody's there to check on you? It reveals your endurance. Alone, you learn how far you can go. You find out if you're willing to keep pushing when it hurts, keep walking when it's dark, and keep fighting when it feels like you've got nothing left. That endurance is what separates you from the rest, and it reveals your identity. Too many people only know themselves in relation to others. Who they are as a friend, who they are as a partner, who they are as part of a crowd. But walking alone strips all that away. It asks, who are you really? Who are you when it's just you? That's the power of walking alone. It doesn't just get you to your destination. It gets you to yourself. It reveals the real you, the strong you, the unshakable you that was buried under the noise of everyone else. So don't run from walking alone. Don't fear it. Embrace it. Because the journey by yourself is what shows you the truth about who you are. And once you know that truth, you'll never question your strength again. Growth requires separation. You cannot grow if you stay planted in the same soil that stunted you. Growth always requires separation. And that separation doesn't feel good, because it means leaving behind comfort, familiarity, and sometimes even people you thought would always be there. But if you want to rise higher, you've got to accept that not everyone and not everything can rise with you. Think about a tree. For a seed to grow, it has to separate from its shell. That shell protected it for a season, but if the seed refuses to break away, it will never become what it was created to be. The same thing happens in life. Your growth requires you to break out of old shells, old habits, old circles. Separation is uncomfortable because it feels like loss, but it's not loss, it's transformation. You're not losing who you were, you're evolving into who you're supposed to be. And sometimes that means distancing yourself from the people, the environments, and the behaviors that keep you stuck at the same level. You've got to separate from average if you want to step into greatness. Average loves company. Mediocrity is always crowded. But growth often feels lonely because it pulls you out of the crowd. It calls you to a higher standard, a different mindset, a stronger discipline. And here's the thing. People won't always understand your separation. They'll call you distant. They'll call you different. They'll even say you've changed. But that's the whole point. You're supposed to change. You're not meant to stay the same. Growth demands change, and change demands separation. When you separate, you make space for new things to enter your life. You can't fill your hands with new opportunities if they're still holding on to the old ones. Separation is what clears the room for your blessing. It creates capacity for what's coming. Separation teaches you independence. When you break away from the crowd, you stop relying on their approval and start relying on your own conviction. That's where your confidence grows. That's where your identity solidifies. That's where you become unshakable. It also sharpens your focus. When you're separated, you're no longer distracted by everyone else's noise. You're no longer pulled in 10 different directions. You finally have the space to concentrate on your vision, your goals, and your destiny. That's when growth accelerates. Separation is also a test. It asks, do you really want this, or do you only want it as long as the crowd comes with you? Because if you truly want it, you'll pursue it even if you have to walk away from everything familiar to get it. You can't grow hanging around the same conversations, the same habits, the same environments that kept you stagnant. Growth means cutting off some habits, cutting off some excuses, cutting off some relationships. It doesn't mean you don't love people. It means you love your future more, and yes, separation hurts. It feels like you're losing pieces of yourself, but those pieces were never the whole you. They were just temporary attachments. The real you is waiting on the other side of that separation. The stronger, wiser, more focused version of you is standing just beyond the discomfort. When you separate, you elevate. You stop being pulled down by the weight of people who aren't ready to climb. You stop being trapped by the limitations of those who don't want more. You break free so you can rise higher, think bigger, and live stronger. Separation is not rejection. It's selection. It's life selecting you for growth, for change, for destiny. And the moment you embrace that, you'll stop seeing separation as pain and start seeing it as progress. So don't fight it, don't resist it, don't try to drag people with you who aren't meant to come. Let separation do its work, because the only way to grow is to go, and the only way to go higher is to separate from what holds you down. Growth has never been found in staying the same place with the same people doing the same thing. Growth is always found on the other side of separation. The strongest walkers become leaders. Every leader you've ever admired was once a walker who had to move alone. Leadership doesn't start when the crowd shows up. It starts when you make the decision to keep walking even if nobody's following. The strength you build in walking alone is the very strength that makes others want to follow you later. See, leadership isn't given, it's earned. And it's earned in the lonely nights, in the quiet struggles, in the moments where you could have quit, but you didn't. That's what qualifies you to lead, because people don't follow words. They follow strength. They follow the person who proved they can stand when nobody else would. Walking alone is training for leadership. It teaches you how to survive without applause. It teaches you how to push without validation. And when you master that, you become the kind of person who doesn't need followers to move. You move first, and then the followers come. The strongest walkers understand pain. They know what it feels like to be overlooked, to be doubted, to be abandoned, and that's why when they become leaders, they lead with empathy. They lead with compassion. They know how to lift others up because they remember what it felt like to walk alone. Walking alone also teaches responsibility, because when it's just you, you can't point fingers. You can't blame anyone else. You learn to take accountability for your actions, your choices, your effort, and accountability is the foundation of leadership. The strongest walkers become leaders because they've proven consistency. They didn't just walk one day. They walked day after day, season after season, even when it was hard, and that consistency is what makes people trust them. Because people don't follow talent, they follow trust. When you've walked alone, you also develop vision. You learn to see further than the crowd because you've spent time in silence, in reflection, in faith. And vision is what makes a leader stand out, being able to see beyond the present and guide others toward the future. Leadership is not about popularity, it's about strength. It's about the courage to step first, to stand when others sit, to speak when others are silent. And you only develop that courage by walking alone first. The strongest walkers also become leaders because they're not afraid of rejection anymore. They've been through it, they've survived it, and they've realized it didn't break them. That's why they can lead boldly. They're not living for approval, they're living for purpose. Walking alone gives you confidence that doesn't shake. Because once you've survived being by yourself, you know you can handle anything. And that kind of confidence is magnetic. It draws people to you. It makes others want to walk with you because they can feel that you know where you're going. The path of leadership is paved with lonely walks. Before every great movement, there was someone who had to step out first. Before the followers came, there was someone who was willing to be different, willing to be ridiculed, willing to be alone. That's what makes leaders rare. They're not afraid to stand alone before the crowd gathers. The strongest walkers become leaders because they lead by example. They don't just talk about resilience, they've lived it. They don't just preach about discipline, they've practiced it. And people don't follow what you say, they follow what you prove. Walking alone also prepares you for the weight of leadership. Because when you're alone, you learn to carry burdens by yourself. And once you've carried your own, you're strong enough to carry others when they need it. That's why leaders can shoulder pressure, because their strength was forged in solitude. In the end, leadership is not about titles, it's not about positions, it's not about recognition. Leadership is about strength, vision, and the willingness to walk alone until others are brave enough to join you. And that's why the strongest walkers always become leaders, because walking alone made them unshakable, and unshakable people were born to lead. Family, hear me today. Walking alone does not mean you're weak, it means you're being built. Every season of solitude you've endured, every tear you've cried in silence, every moment you thought nobody saw, you were being strengthened. You were being sharpened. You were being prepared for something bigger than you could imagine. You've learned that everybody can't go where you're going. You've learned that silence builds strength. You've realized that loneliness is not punishment but preparation. You've come to understand that rejection is not the end, it's redirection. Walking alone has revealed the truth about who you really are. You now know that growth requires separation. And through it all, you've seen that the strongest walkers become leaders. This journey of walking alone is not about loss, it's about discovery. It's about finding the version of yourself that can stand without the crowd, the version of yourself that doesn't fold when life gets hard, the version of yourself that can lead others because you've already proven you can lead yourself. So don't be afraid to take that walk. Don't be afraid to stand by yourself. Don't be afraid to let go of the ones who can't handle your next level. Because walking alone does not make you weaker. It makes you unshakable. And when the day comes that people look at you and say, "How did you make it? How did you become so strong? How did you keep going when others quit?" You'll smile and tell them, "I learned how to walk alone." That's the truth. That's the power. That's the path. Walking alone will always make you strong.